with Tyree, hit it 3 like Kyrie.
What's up, y'all? Dexter McKinney. I'm from Syracuse, New York, but I'm based out of New York City. And a project that I'm currently working on is a sci-fi film called Colors We Made, which we announced at Sundance. And that's how you and I met. That's why I was at Sundance. So, I just appreciate the opportunity to, get on that podcast like we said we would.
Yeah, I'm glad we stuck to it, man. It took me a couple days to see you commented back to me on one of your posts, and I was like, oh, it took me a couple days to see it. I was like, oh, let me make sure I reach out to him real quick. And I'm glad we got to do this. So you said you grew up in Syracuse, and I read that you grew up playing sports. So my first question for you is, how did playing sports teach you about the work ethic it takes? And how does it relate to the work ethic you take into acting today?
Yeah, man, I'll tell you. So I grew up, Southside of Syracuse, like a lot of neighborhoods, inner city, dynamics. And I was actually surrounded by some really great athletes. Like one of my best friends growing up became the franchise player for an NFL team. So, I was around and a lot of other people that were talented, that type of talent. So I kind of knew, okay, I'm definitely not he was like my friend was like the fastest guy in New York State. He ran track. So I know I'm not that, you know what I mean? But it made me want to kind of find where I naturally excelled, kind of like my friend. Now he put in the work, but he was naturally gifted. So I'm like, how do I find something that I'm naturally gifted in, that I'm happy to put the work in, and that I feel like I can excel in and do forever? So it definitely teaches you, the discipline, the putting in the work, the, not getting involved in certain things. Like my friend, he never smoked or, we did. He was an athlete, kind of just naturally. And kind of had the mindset for it too, because a lot of people were that, but went, the street route, and got caught up. And I was like the president of my high school. I used to be in the office and in student government, and I would be in the office and I would see people with letters from the University of Miami, but they was in the streets now. And I'm like, man, if I go to the University of Miami to play football, like that's when it was the you know what I'm saying? So I got to see different people with different gifts and what they did with them. Some people spoiled them, and that became something that to me was the ultimate failure. Like if you have gifts and you don't use them and you kind of squander them, you kind of, to me, it's like you asking God for help. I gave you this talent, use it. You know what I mean? And have that work ethic to fight. And so that's, like I said, being around certain athletes and being in the sports definitely played a big part into what I'm doing today.
That's dope. Yeah. It's something about sports for me. I played basketball, track. I did football for a little bit. It taught me, all right, sometimes you got to wake up early to get your work in. You got to do this to get your work in, and kind of taught me a different route around creativity and projects and how to have a certain mindset around it, because when you're working out, you got to do it to exhaustion. You got to do it to the point where you're so exhausted, you go home and you just hop in the shower and pass out, type deal. Back in the day when we were playing basketball, you get the 626 type deal, or, it just taught me that okay, sometimes you got to push yourself past the point where you feel like there is a plateau for yourself. You got to keep pushing. And that was sports for me, because without sports, I probably might have not went to college,
Yeah.
So it's that was something that always kept me on track. And then I refound creativity in film in college. So, because when I was in middle school, I went to an art school. So we were all in theater, choir, painting, sculpture. We were doing pretty much a lot of arts. That was the first place I took photos or picked up a camera was in
Right.
middle school.
Right.
So when I got back to college, I kind of revamped it. So, and I read that you have a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees. Is that?
Yeah, I do, man. So, and I'll say this just to clarify, like, so for me, I really dove further into the arts in high school. I kind of stopped playing like the major sports that I was playing, really phased out in about Pop Warner. By the time I got to high school, I had already like gone to New York City. I competed in a competition with a bunch of actors, and I did well. Like I won my category. I got my first agent. So in like 9th grade. So I started going from Syracuse to New York City at that time, acting like for auditions. I booked my first national commercial in like the 9th grade. I was doing plays before that, but I really wasn't. It was like because of where I grew up, I wasn't proud to say I was an actor, you know, on a stage in tights reciting Shakespeare. You know what I mean? I kind of hid that from people because that's not what people around me were doing. But I knew in my mind and in my heart, by the time I got to high school, I was more of an artist. I was more of a creative. So I focused more on that and academics to get to college. So that's kind of was my route. And then when I got to college, so I'm from Syracuse. I started walking up to the school. It was a program called HEOP. And I knew it was an opportunity for, you know, folks like me from underprivileged backgrounds and neighborhoods to go to a good school. And I started making connections up there. And I met the director of the program. Her name is Denise Trianfero. And we just built a relationship. I would just walk up there, talk to her. She would, you know, she just took a real genuine liking to me. And we just had a real relationship. And she ended up helping me get into the program. And so from there, you know, being in Syracuse, again, I had like my neighborhood friends. I still kind of wanted to be like a street kid. I was the light-skinned pretty boy, and I didn't really, you know, that there's a certain soft, like negative connotation that comes with that. So I wasn't trying to help that by acting, and you know what I mean? I wanted to be like like all the cool kids, either like really good athlete or a good hustler or a good street guy. That was kind of like my mind frame. But when I got to college, I went to college originally for acting. But I'm like, there was all of that stuff I mentioned. Plus, I'm like, man, I could get a degree at Syracuse University in acting and it not work out. And then what would I do? Versus I already have an agent. I'm already going to New York auditioning for stuff. Why don't I get like a real degree? You know what I mean? Where I could make some money. So I pivoted into IT because that's what people said the money was, technology, right? And so I did that. I kept drama as a minor. So I kept acting, but I didn't want, and I'm also curious about other things, bro. Like I got 2 master's degrees in public diplomacy. Barack Obama came through. I was inspired by that. It's like I want to change the world. I want to help people. You know, I want to get into politics. And people always, you know, when you come from certain neighborhoods like that and you start going to college, people start saying, "Oh, you could like be the mayor of our town." And then, you know, help us get contracts. And you know what I mean? Like you start getting certain people in the community maybe pushing you down a road. And I saw it too. I was kind of into it too. So I went into politics. I was working on Capitol Hill for Congress, doing that. But the whole time I was like, man, I'm supposed to be acting, you know? This looks great and it seems productive, and I wanted to prove to myself and others that I was smart. So this kind of checks those boxes, but I felt like I was trying to change a decision with my mind that my heart already made. Like, dude, go to New York, work on your craft, and figure it out.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I did, or am still doing. You know what I mean?
yeah. What what did going to New York kind of teach you about, the grind of being an actor, especially after coming from Capitol Hill, doing something completely different? Coming to New York is like, getting thrown to the wolves in a way. But you had already had an agent before. Was that like you had to like rekindle everything and get everything restarted, or were you still acting while you were doing things in politics?
I had to restart. And so I had an agent as a kid. I pulled up thinking, because when I met her, like I said, when I met her, I had won a competition. The competition was called IMTA, International Modeling and Talent Agency. So it was a bunch of people from all over the world competing. And I won. Like, so I had a lot of agents pitching for me. And one of them just started sending me out on auditions. Her name's Shirley Grant. She was the same agent to, his name is Michael, the guy he was in My Wife and Kids, The Son. He was in the movie Juice. He was the little brother. He was a cute little brother. But she just started sending me on auditions. The second one I booked. So she's like, yo, we got to move you to New York City. I don't know how you're going to do it, but you got to move to New York. My mom set it up. We had a family friend. They took me in. Yo, if you want to move here, you got the key. Come through. So I was considering moving in high school, but it was a tough move from a small town like Syracuse when I'm still kind of like a kid with my friends and doing Syracuse stuff. And I want to act, but I'm not like an adult that's trying to put it all on the line. You know what I mean? I just did well in this competition. My agent is now pushing me to move. So I was going back and forth. I didn't end up moving there, but I fell in love with the city. Like, from a small town, I had big dreams. I'm in New York City. It was just an intoxicating place, like so different. And I was moving around there as a 14-year-old. People that's born there and raised there, they're doing it at 7 years old. But when you're not from there and you doing it at like 13, 14, you like, man, I'll do anything. Hell, let me get on the A train, right?
Yeah.
So I fell in love with New York already, but when I had to come back from the politics, I was really starting from scratch. And because I went there, I was rusty. I hadn't been acting. So they made me audition again at Shirley Grant. They're like, it was new agents there. And they was like, yeah, this ain't it. That ain't it. You know what I mean? And I'm thinking it was going to be love because it was when I first met him, it was so great. But so I had to start from scratch. And I did. I started building my community. I started getting into classes. I built my cohort, my actor friends, and just kind of started chopping wood, start putting in my reps, getting in plays, and then getting my equity card, getting in, becoming a professional actor, and then next thing you know, like I was in so I went to a pay to play where you can meet casting director. I did well there. They called me in the next week. It was for When They See Us by Ava DuVernay, on Netflix, and I booked it. So the way things kind of were happening, I was in a relationship that didn't work. I was like homeless. I was engaged to be married. Like, you go through. I was sleeping on my friend's couch. Like I was homeless. All of the stuff that you go through. And then I started having certain victories to where I look at it like God is sending me a sign. Like, you on the right path, bro. You just had to commit. Like, you kept dipping the toe in the water. You know what I mean? Jump in if you really about it. And once I jumped in, I started getting my victories, and then you still go through your setbacks, and it's an ebb and flow, right? But I knew, like, okay, I have something here.
And you talk about like God was sending you a sign. I always tell people like sometimes it's not gonna be what you want, like it's not gonna be what you want. It's God gonna be like, oh, you willing to sleep on this couch? All right, now I think you want it for real. Now I think you want it for real.
How I think about it, bro.
Like, now I think you want it for real. I'm gonna bless you with some opportunities to keep moving, keep it grooving, and that's what you did. You kept moving, and I saw that you made your Broadway debut in the Skeleton Crew. What was it like when you made that debut, especially after going through all those trials and tribulations, finally getting to get on Broadway and act in a Tony Award winning play?
Yeah, you blanked out a little bit there. I thought my
Oh,
internet was gonna lose you, but
what I said.
I
What
heard
did you hear?
I got in the Skeleton Crew, and I didn't hear exactly what you said after that.
I'll just restart it. You got in the Skeleton Crew. How did it feel to, make your Broadway debut after going through all the trials and tribulations that you went through, and then you get that blessing and that opportunity? How did that feel for you?
It was amazing, man. I'll tell you, like, even just the way that it came about. I got to go to 48 Hours in Harlem, which was just an amazing experience with these great actors, directors, writers. And so essentially what it is you have 48 hours, you get like 2 or 3 actors, 1 writer, 1 director, and that's your group. And there's maybe like 10 groups like that. And the writer will take a concept, let's say James Baldwin, write a play, and then the director will direct it and we'll perform it all within 48 hours. In my group, we had like an incredible just group of people. And the director was Steve Broadnax. We did a great job. And it came across so well that he was like, I want to take you to the ATL, what's it called? Actors Theater of Louisville, which is professional stage. It's one of the best stages in the country. Like, I think it's like top 10. So that's how I became a professional actor. I got my equity card from that. And so that went pretty well. And so now I was in the loop of, folks that do the Skeleton Crew or Dominique Morisseau's plays. And so when it came to Broadway, I had an eye on it because I had done the play already. So I wanted to get in it. And something happened to where I got a call to come and audition. And I got to audition for Ruben Santiago Hudson, the director, great director. I mean, he was just an incredible guy to be around and to learn from. And Dominique Morisseau. And it went really well. And so I ended up getting cast as an understudy of the character Dez and the character Reggie. So I was covering both of those characters. And this was during COVID. And the first day that we got to the theater, they had already been rehearsing, like the principal actors. They had already been rehearsing it. But the first day we got to the theater, we were all coming together. It was our first day there as understudies. And a guy named Josh Boone, great actor, great guy, learned a lot from him. He really he's like a veteran sort of Broadway actor. But he ended up getting COVID, right? And so the first day we all got to the theater, he got COVID, and we all there, we meeting. Felicia Rashad is there, who was amazing. Like, I just couldn't believe I was on the stage with her. I remember our first interaction. She was just so graceful with me and everybody. But but he went down, and so we were all happy, and everybody was excited, meeting everybody for the first time. And then Josh wasn't there. And so they pulled me to the side, like, yo, you up. So on the first day, I get up. I hadn't been rehearsing with them. It was our first day. But because I had done the show, so much of it was like already within me. Man, I got up there. It went really well. Everybody was like nervous because Josh is a great actor and he was, ready to go, but he got the COVID. He wasn't sick. He just tested positive.
No.
And I did a really good job, man. I got a standing ovation. The whole theater like got up and clapped, all the people that was working on the show behind the scenes. And you could tell that they knew that they were in good hands with me. And it was just a great experience. And Josh would like call me like, yo, like whatever you need. Cause it's like a weird feeling, for understudies and principal actors. I've heard a lot of stories, but my story wasn't like that because Josh, and Brandon Durden, who also got COVID, so I had to step in for him as well. And I had already known Brandon. He's also like professional TV actor, Broadway actor. And I had worked with him on Miss America before, so we knew each other. But they were just so like great with me. Like it wasn't no, sometimes it's like, oh, you know, the principal actor don't want the understudy to go on because they feel like that's their role and they don't want you to go on. They don't want their stories where the understudy go on and shine, and it kind of takes away maybe from the principal. Josh wasn't like that. Josh was like, yo, I want to make sure you get on. You know, what do you need? Here's my number. So we just had like a family thing, and a lot of people were getting COVID. Lakeisha May stepped up, and you know, she carved out a really nice Broadway career for herself. She was another understudy. Benji K, another one. You know, a lot of us were understudies there, and you know, have gone on. I haven't done any more Broadway shows. They have, but it was just a great group, man, a great experience, and I learned a lot. And you know, it was just, yeah, it was an amazing experience, bro.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Especially when you got the support from everybody. You know, like nobody was low key hating. Nobody was trying to sabotage your shine. They were trying to make sure you shined. You know what I'm saying? So that's where it's beautiful in that regards. For you, how does, you know, going from the stage to working with people like Uzo, Aldous Hodge, Kelsey Grammer, how did you go from working on a stage to being in, you know, TV shows and movies like your upcoming movie coming out?
Yeah, man. And just to kind of just touch on one of the things you said, it was the opposite of hating. Like, you know, a lot of times after the show, there'll be a talk back, and the cast will get up there, and Josh, who played Dez, he'll get up there and be like, and shout out to Dexter, man. He stepped up, he saved the show. Because there was like a situation where if we didn't have a certain amount of rehearsals, technically we couldn't do the show or something. He would just go out of his way to kind of big me up, which I knew that was different. And not having other experiences to compare it to, but speaking to other people, they confirmed it. Like Adesela, who was in the show, big time Broadway guy, he started as an understudy, and he didn't have the same experience as me. You know, he didn't get the embrace of the other people in the cast. So I knew I had a special experience. In terms of the switch from stage to TV, it's a switch, man, because I grew up on stage. You know, it's a different medium. It's a different approach to the performance. And I would say like acting classes helped me to kind of hone in on that a little bit, specifically with a guy named Bob Krakauer. He was very instrumental for me. Ted Sluberski, Anthony Abeson. I mean, these are the people I study with. And, you know, they helped me with that transition. And I enjoy both, man. I love them both. I love to be on the stage. I grew up on the stage. And that's, to me, like when you're kind of getting in the gym and you working it out, because you get a lot of time to keep going up and up and up, like every day. And then TV is more like you got to get it right. Time is money. Move on to the next set, you know. So it's like more pressure, and it's forever, and there's no do-over. Like you know, especially until you number one on that call sheet, you don't really get a whole lot of takes. You know what I mean? Like you got to get it right. So it's just a different beast, man. But it's all a part of the craft, and I love it. And even going to content, like on the phone with the vertical style filming, that's different. So to me, you know, all of that stuff is just different ways to kind of work the instrument.
Speaking of like the content, what made you get into content? Was it another way for you to, you know, put yourself out there and get your name out there, especially? Was that another way for you to just, you know, show what you can do?
1000%. And also, it was something I always wanted to do. once I started getting certain credits alongside the actors you mentioned, the Kelsey Grammers, the Uzo Adubas, and Aldous Hodge, like I felt like, okay, I'm a real actor now. I grew up watching, Josh on D2 The Mighty Ducks. You know what I mean? Josh Jackson. And now I'm in a scene with him, so I'm an official actor now. So I can't do silly content. But then I stopped getting them roles. Like the phone stopped ringing and it slowed down. Like the whole industry, honestly, is in a different space today as a result of strike, just different COVID. It's just a different reality of the industry. And so it just felt like the opportunity. I didn't want to tap out, but it was really slow and it became hard to maintain. And so, I said, this is an opportunity, man. I've always wanted to do content. I think I'd be great at it. 2 weeks into consistently posting, I went viral. And that was, again, another one of those signs like, okay, that's got to be a sign from the Most High, right? Like that felt pretty fast to me. I was ready to lock in for a year to see if I could get viral. And it happened in 2 weeks. And so I said, okay, this is, and I put the work in going into it, not just like from day one, but I'm saying from day one where I posted. Prior to that first post, I was researching and, strategizing. But yeah, man, it felt like, okay, I think I'm on to something here. And then when the Judge Judy the Mob Boss series came about 2-3 episodes in, Judge Judy commented on my post. So I was like, I had whole weekend plans lined up. They was canceled. I had learned from when I go viral before, people gonna start coming to my profile. I need to convert these profile visits into followers. And the way to do that is to not have one Judge Judy viral video, but to have a catalog. So I'm the Judge Judy, the Mob Boss guy. And I wanted that banner, right? So I locked in. I probably knocked out like 8 or 9 more videos. So by the time you were starting to come, you seen 10 videos. I'll say, okay, this guy is the Judge Judy, the Mob Boss guy. I'll follow if I'm into it,
Yeah. For you, do you feel like social media has become like the new audition in a way? People are still auditioning, but they want you to have some type of social presence. In some cases, actors have like no social presence at all. But do you feel like that gives you a upper hand or a leg up on people who don't?
I would say that, I'm still relatively new to the space, but again, I've noticed that I go places now and respectfully, humbly, I've got real credits. When people come up to me, they mention my content. They don't mention, they may say like, you look familiar. And I used to get that because I've done like a lot of commercials and stuff like that. But it's not the way it is now, where I'm at like Sundance and people are coming up to me telling me they love my content and want to take pictures with me. You know what I mean? So that kind of gives you a certain confidence of like, as an artist, okay, people are enjoying my work. And so that allows you to lean into it a little bit more. I have gotten opportunities, doors have opened. I'm going to be on a game show in April. It comes out in April on Fox. I flew out to Ireland, got to be out there for a few weeks. People are, I got movies lined up for the next 3 months that all came through my DMs. So there's definitely opportunities and doors being open that in a way that hasn't happened prior to my content. And just being in an audition, they do ask sometimes about your following, and then sometimes they know you. So that gives you a different confidence in the space. They can look at your resume and say, oh, you did that show. I seen that show. I didn't necessarily see you, but I seen the show. But now it's like I seen your content that you do. So I would just say, if nothing else, I mean, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel confident, like you're doing something that's contributing to the culture. And then on the other side of that, I'll say I empathize with those who are like true artists and didn't sign up to be a content creator, because not everybody has the personality for that, like, or the desire to do that. Like, that's not necessarily why you signed up to be an artist. But to me, I was just of the impression that, like, I just want to adapt. Like, I want to be able to navigate these times. Like, I didn't know COVID was coming, but I had to deal with that. I didn't know strikes were coming, but I had to deal with that. And some people maybe have other things going on, so they, financially they're good, or they got, certain things in place. But for me, it was a viable option that I felt comfortable doing, that I'm happy and enjoy doing.
Yeah. I feel like I was that way at first, where it was like I didn't want to do content. I just wanted to do the projects I was working on and call it. I didn't want to have to post all the time. That was my number one thing. I was like, I don't want to be like posting all the time. That defeats the mystery. I used to always be like that. It defeats the mystery of it all.
Yeah.
But the more I posted, the more doors started to open for me. Like, the more I posted interviews, the more I posted this, the more interviews I was getting, the more access I was getting. So I realized, I was like, oh, it's like hand in hand. Like, if you want one thing, you got to give something. You can't you can't be at the crib all the time. You got to get outside sometimes. And
right, Batman, only come out
at night.
Right.
So
yeah, no, I get that, bro. I was the same, because I was of the impression, and people that I really look up to, like a Denzel Washington, for example, kind of preaches having that movie star mystique, like, not super accessible. He's not necessarily posting on social media. You can't necessarily go to Denzel Washington's personal page that he personally is posting about his life. But is he on social media? Sure. Because people post him on all of his interviews, all of the speeches that he gives. He's got a brand to where he doesn't have to do that. Not everybody's in that position. And in a changing world, in a content world where everybody's on their phone more than they're probably on a TV, more than they're probably on a computer, like, you want to kind of go where the attention is, like, in terms of just from a business standpoint, like, there's ways to leverage it in other ways, to monetize it in other ways, to where, you can now have the freedom to focus on your craft as well. So I get it. Like I say, I do empathize with those who just don't want it. It is work. It's not like, it like, it ebbs and flows like anything else. And it's not, fun when your videos flop and people are negative, rage baiting you in the comments, and the negativity that they're gonna come with. Like, yeah, that's all a part of it. But, like, there's also the good part, and so I just try to focus on, like, the positivity, the progress, and the goal, like, the targets that we're aiming for.
I had this one, when you talk about the negativity, I had this one, I can't even remember his name. Like, I feel like he just sent all his bots at me for a sec, and I was like, you gotta chill.
They come with me, bro.
I was like, it was just like a bunch of bots. It was like, you ain't got more money than at person. You broke. You ain't got more money than at person. I was like, do you chill on the bots? I literally went to his message or his DM, was like, hey, bro, you gotta chill on these bots. I don't know. Did I do something to you?
Honestly, me, I'm like, some of it does get to you, but sometimes I'll provoke it, because you just feed my algorithm.
Yeah, true, true.
I mean? Like, certain people,
Yeah, at times I'll just like say something back. Well, if I see it's a bot, I'm like, all right, what is going on? Because do you just have bots roaming around and see what like is what is getting a lot of views? Let's tag my name in all the comments or something like that. And I've seen I've seen a bunch of bots like that where I'm just like, okay, let's delete these comments because I don't want people thinking I use bots, so I can't have bots in my comments. So um I always ask this question: what are your top 3 films that got you into film, like that made you want to be a filmmaker
A filmmaker,
or actor or
top 3 films. I would say, oh, that's a good question. Top 3 that made me want to be an actor. Gotta go Wizard of Oz. Gotta go Wizard of Oz off the top. Just the like the magic of it all. You know what I mean? Like that's a family favorite of mine as well. Like, we watch it on Thanksgiving. That's my dad, my sister, my mom. That's our film. Made me want to be an actor. I would go Boys in the Hood. It's just one of those movies that I started watching early. I felt like I just related to it. And I just thought it was so well made before I even realized how well made it was. And another movie. I mean, I'm just trying to think, like, when I wanted to be an actor, these were like earlier movies. So, and it's probably gonna sound crazy, but Scarface, just like Al Pacino, like, I'm just such a big Al Pacino, Robert De Niro guy. And so these are just honestly just 3 of my early childhood favorite movies that made me love movies. Just storytelling. Just it's not I mean, I love yeah, those are just 3 movies that I loved from an early age that, you know what I mean? I've always I just watched so many times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Scarface is probably the one movie that I've seen a million times because one, that's my dad's favorite movie. So he always watched it when I was younger. And then I started watching it as like a teen. Like, AMC used to have the mob weeks and they'd play Godfather, Goodfellas, Scarface on repeat for a whole weekend pretty much. So I was always I love mob movies, so that was my thing.
Man. Me too, man. All of them joints you just said, I love all of those movies. So all of them, man. Scorsese, you just name it, man. I'm just Casino. I mean, yeah, like I without really knowing it, not like intentionally. And I'm kind of thinking about it now because I got the Mob Boss thing, but I never really thought about that. But like honestly, yeah, I grew up watching those movies, like loving them. I used to have them plastered on my wall, and still in my childhood home at my mom's house, those posters are on the wall. So
have you seen there's a meme, or I don't think it's a meme, but it's like a story about Judge Judy. Like at every Christmas party, she'd negotiate her contract. And then one Christmas party, they gave her an envelope instead of her giving her an envelope. And she just threw it back and was like, "This is not a negotiation." She really is my boss, for real.
Yeah, it's gonna be this or it's gonna be not.
I don't care what you're saying. This is what I want.
Exactly.
So, for you, like, with this new movie coming up, tell me a little bit about that. Especially in the sci-fi world. I love sci-fi movies. Tell me the importance of that, and especially being a Black man in sci-fi. I feel like we don't get as much credit in that genre. We don't get a lot of sci-fi movies. So tell me about that.
Yeah, man. Super grateful for this opportunity. I came about a friend of mine actually kind of recommended me for this one. So, shout out to him, man. Super appreciative for that. But I got on in this project about a year ago, rehearsing, doing table reads, and then it just kind of within a year moved along. You do all of these table reads, and a lot of times nothing comes from them, especially over the last few years. That's what was happening. We were doing a lot of table reads, reading these scripts, or script readings, things like that. But this one actually is coming to fruition. So it's a sci-fi love story. My character Jace is essentially, I don't want to give too much away. We'll shoot it in March, but it's to do with this love story and essentially how Black and brown women get treated in an American hospital, right? And so we'll deal with certain inequities that take place. One of them being that Black women are 3 times more likely to die, right, in a procedure in a hospital versus their white counterpart. So we will deal with different things dealing with that. But my character Jace is essentially, going through this really profound time in his life, and kind of, dealing with all of those things, with his girl, and their relationship, and then, things that happen as a result, going to a hospital versus maybe having like a doula, or versus having, a place that understands that, Black women feel pain too. It's not like they're just super strong and you're not really in pain, or this is, but no, just, I need to be treated like a human being. So, we'll deal with that, but we'll relate it to, in terms of the sci-fi stuff, to the cosmos, and, it's going to be some really cool graphics, and it's a really cool story, man. Like I said, we got a chance to announce it at Sundance. It's produced by Level Forward. I'm not sure if you saw the film Lady that they produced out at. So I got to go and kind of be a part of that. But that's essentially the project. And so it's a short film, and ideally we can turn it into a feature length.
I was supposed to go work on the press line for Lady, but it was at the same time as something else. But I didn't get the email from the Lady people until it was probably 30 minutes before the press line start time. So I was already all the other side of town of Park City. I'm probably not gonna make it because the bus is gonna take a minute for me to even get there. But that was one I was on my list to see, and I'm actually hoping to see it once it comes out in theaters or on streaming. For you, man, my last question, I'm gonna let you get out of here. What are the goals for you in your career, and what is something you're looking forward to doing in the future?
The goals for my career. I'll say this, man. I'm super grateful for just being able to call it a career, to stick with it long enough to start to have some great momentum right now, and like I say, it ebbs and flows, man, but I just feel like I'm in a really great space that I'm appreciative for. I would love to, be a series regular on a hit television show, for years, you know what I'm saying? That a show that people love. I'm working on writing my own and pitching my own. If it comes that way, that would be amazing, because I do have I think a really good idea. And so I would love to, continue to use my platform to create opportunities for myself and others. I would love to do great films as a lead. You know, I've gotten to do I've gotten to do great TV shows, usually as like a co-star or a guest star. I would love an opportunity to be, you know, like I said, a recurring, a series regular on some of the great shows out there, maybe in the 50 Cent world, you know, somewhere on HBO. I would love to be on HBO, you know, doing that kind of stuff. And like I said, man, just also creating my own projects, you know, and creating with other people that are creatives, not waiting for the phone to ring to say you got the part, but for me to call and say, hey, I got the project, you know, do you want to be a part of it? So that's the game plan. And, you know, as far as the creative stuff, just to continue to build more, create bigger opportunities on bigger stages and bigger screens, and you know, and do that with my community.
That's dope, man. Thank you for kicking it with me, man. I appreciate you taking the time for probably like 50 minutes now. But I appreciate you taking the time, and it's been a couple of weeks since Sundance. I'm glad we got to catch up.
Kick it with Tyree, hit it 3 like Kyrie.